What if I told you that in the ancient scrolls of the Bible is a prophecy so shocking and so specific that it has remained overlooked for centuries? A prophecy that is not just a warning for the future, but is unfolding right now before our very eyes? Not in the headlines, not in the sermons, but in silence. It's being fulfilled. Wars, rumors of wars, a rebuilt temple, global deception. There's a prophecy hidden in Scripture that's unfolding before our very eyes, and almost no one is talking about it. This isn't just history, it's happening now, and you're part of it. Stay to the end. What you'll discover could change how you see the world forever. Welcome to the prophecy that no one talks about, and it's being fulfilled now. The book of Ezekiel is known for its different visions, such as wheels within wheels, dry bones rising, and judgments against ancient nations. But tucked away between these more famous visions lies something most believers have never paid attention to. Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 describe a mysterious war. This war was led by Gog of the land of Magog, a powerful leader from the north who assembled a confederation of nations against the people of Israel. Listen to Ezekiel 38 verses 2 to 4. Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army. Hooks in the jaws? A reluctant war? An alliance of nations? It sounds like a scene out of modern geopolitics. According to many Bible scholars, Magog is widely believed to represent the region north of Israel, possibly modern-day Russia or its territories. Meshech and Tubal have often been linked to areas in modern Turkey. Now, pair that with verses that describe Persia, modern-day Iran, Kush, parts of Sudan and Ethiopia, and put link to Libya as allies in this end-time coalition. Coincidence? Or is this prophecy resurfacing right now? But here's where it gets even more intense. Ezekiel describes this alliance not just as a war over territory, but over ideology and control. The coalition marches against the people who are dwelling in safety, a land that has been restored from war. Israel. Think about it. A nation reborn after nearly 2,000 years. A people gathered back from the nations. A once desolate land is now flourishing. Ezekiel 38 verse 11 says the enemy will say, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will attack peaceful and unsuspecting people. This isn't just a military strategy. It's a prophetic trigger. The nations gather not just for conquest, but to challenge the sovereignty of God himself. Ezekiel 38 verse 16 makes it clear, you will come up against my people Israel, so that the nations may know me when I am proved holy through you before their eyes. This war becomes a stage for divine intervention, and what happens next is unlike anything in human history. God responds with an earthquake, fire, hailstones, and judgment so fierce that the entire world will know it came from him. But here's the twist. This war ends not with the destruction of Israel, but with the downfall of the invaders. And the cleanup is so massive. Ezekiel says it takes 7 months to bury the dead. Now ask yourself, have we ever seen this exact war? The answer is no. Not in World War II. Not in the Six-Day War. Not even in today's headlines. But we are now watching the alliance form. We're seeing nations mentioned in this prophecy, Russia, Iran, and Turkey, build strategic ties, conduct joint military drills, and speak boldly against Israel and the West. The hooks in the jaws may already be in place. And Ezekiel tells us the war suddenly comes when the world watches something else. Possibly just like now. So what happens next? Does Ezekiel's prophecy align with Revelation's end-time timeline? Is this war the precursor to the rise of the Antichrist? And what role does the church, the believers, play in this unfolding drama? Ezekiel 39 verses 1 to 2 says, Son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around and drag you along. Gog is not just a political leader. He is a symbol of supernatural rebellion, a man operating under dark influence as an Antichrist prototype. Notice the language Ezekiel uses. I will drag you along. This isn't just military ambition. It's divine orchestration. God becomes an instrument of judgment, but also of revelation, because through his defeat, God reveals his glory to the nations. Fast forward to today. We're witnessing an unprecedented alignment of the exact nations listed in Ezekiel's prophecy, forming military and economic alliances, united by shared interests and ideologies hostile to Israel. Coincidence? Or the scaffolding of a prophetic moment? But there's more. The battle in Ezekiel is not Armageddon. It comes before the rise of the Antichrist. How do we know? Because Ezekiel says this war leads to a global awakening. Listen, I will make known my holy name among my people Israel. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord. Ezekiel 39, verse 7. This war sets the stage not for the end, but for a shift in global power and spiritual awakening. This raises a haunting question. Could Gog's defeat create a vacuum for the Antichrist to rise? A world desperate for peace, a new charismatic leader promising unity after chaos. Revelation 6 speaks of a white horse rider, a global peacemaker who appears after war. Could Ezekiel 38 to 39 be the very war that allows this false Messiah to emerge? And what of the church? Will believers witness this war, or will they be taken before it begins? Many theologians debate whether the rapture happens before, during, or after Ezekiel's war. But one thing is clear. The church must be awake, because Gog's rise signals a shift not just in the natural world, but in the spiritual realms. Listen to this. After the war, Ezekiel 39 verse 9 says, "Then those who live in the towns of Israel will go out and use the weapons for fuel and burn them. For 7 years they will use them for fuel." 7 years. This number should make every Bible student pause. Because the Great Tribulation, the reign of the Antichrist, is also described as 7 years. Could this war be the opening event? Could the burning of weapons for 7 years overlap with the tribulation timeline? This would mean the war of Gog and Magog could happen just before or as the tribulation begins. And that means, if it hasn't already begun, it may be just around the corner. And it's not just alliances. It's timing. The Middle East is a pressure cooker. One spark and everything Ezekiel described could unfold in real time. But here's the twist that almost no one talks about. What if Gog is not just a man, but a spirit? In Revelation 20, after Christ's 1,000-year reign, it says Satan will deceive the nations and gather them for war under the name Gog and Magog. The same names. That means Gog may be more than a man. He may be a demonic principality, animating world leaders throughout history, and again in the end times. This brings the war into a new light, one that blends a visible world and the invisible realm. And in that war, there are only two sides. There is no neutrality. So what does this mean for you? It means we must watch the signs. Be spiritually awake. Understand prophecy not as speculation, but as a warning and a preparation. Whether Gog's war begins tomorrow, next year, or a decade from now, the signs are already in motion. Another prophecy that no one talks about is the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. Since the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the Jewish people have waited, prayed, and wept, but few realize this. Preparations for the Third Temple are already underway. The priestly garments, ready. The golden menorah, crafted. The red heifers, born in recent years under strict Levitical guidelines. And most astonishing of all, the Sanhedrin has been reestablished. All the pieces are coming together. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has a clear mission to rebuild the Holy Temple on Mount Moriah, the very ground where the Dome of the Rock stands today. And this is where prophecy and politics collide. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. As written in Daniel 9 verse 27, this verse refers to the Antichrist. He will likely make a peace agreement involving permission for Israel to rebuild the temple. At first, this leader will appear as a global peacemaker, but halfway through the 7 years, everything will change. He will desecrate the temple, declare himself a god, and fulfill the abomination of desolation prophesied by Daniel and reiterated by Jesus in Matthew 24. This means one thing. The temple must exist before the Antichrist rises in full power. So, if we are witnessing movements to rebuild the temple now, we are dangerously close to the events of Revelation becoming reality. This isn't speculation. It's happening. Quietly. intentionally, and prophetically. But here's what many overlook. In 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 4, Paul says, "He will oppose and exalt himself over everything that is called God and set himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God." This is not metaphorical. The Antichrist will enter a literal temple in Jerusalem and blaspheme God in the heart of sacred ground. This will ignite the second half of the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, a time of unparalleled suffering, deception, and spiritual warfare. But let's take it one step further. Could the construction of the third temple also signal the return of Jesus Christ? In Matthew 24, Jesus says, "When you see the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains." This is a direct sign that the end is near, not in centuries, but in days. So here's what's unfolding. But now comes the most crucial question of all. Where's the church fit in? Will believers see the temple rebuilt? Will they witness the rise of the Antichrist? Will they be here when Gog attacks? This has divided theologians for decades. Some say the rapture will take place before any of this begins. Others believe the church will endure the first half of the tribulation, witnessing Gog's defeat and the temple's rise before being taken. And some argue believers will be present until the very end, empowered to preach even in persecution. Whatever your position, one thing is clear. We must be spiritually alert, watching, praying, preparing, because these prophecies are no longer abstract. They are unfolding on our news feeds. You weren't born in this generation by accident. You were placed here for such a time as this. Now, we stand at the edge of everything. This is it, the moment all prophecy points to, the return of the King. Revelation 19 verses 11 to 16. "Then I saw heaven open, behold, a white horse. The one sitting on it is called Faithful and True. His eyes are like a flame of fire, and on his robe and on his thigh he has a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords." After the Antichrist desecrates the rebuilt temple, after he sets himself up as God, after the world is plunged into the second half of the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, God does not remain silent. The seals are broken, the trumpets sound, the bowls of wrath are poured out, earthquakes, famines, darkness, and blood, and then a cry pierces the heavens. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, returns, not as a suffering servant, but as a conquering king, with fire in his eyes, with a sword from his mouth, with the armies of heaven behind him. He sets his feet on the Mount of Olives, and it splits in two. He defeats the Antichrist. He binds Satan for 1,000 years, and he establishes his kingdom on earth. This is what we call the millennial reign. Isaiah 2 verse, "For they shall beat their swords into plowshares, nation shall not lift up sword against nation. There will be peace like the world has never known, a return to Edenic harmony. Justice will flow like a river. The king will reign from Jerusalem, and those who were faithful, those who endured, will reign with him." But what about now? How do we prepare for a time that feels so far, yet grows closer with every headline? Jesus didn't give us prophecy to spark fear. He gave it to inspire faith and urgency. We are not spectators. We are part of this divine timeline. And the church's role in this hour is not to hide, but to shine. Matthew 24 verse 14 says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." This is a final mission. The reason we were born now, to spread the gospel, to live holy lives, to warn the world, and prepare the bride. The King is coming, not in theory, not someday, but soon. Are you watching? Are you ready? Because one day, soon, the trumpet will sound, the skies will split, and the world will know that the Lion of Judah has returned. Behold, he comes with clouds, and every eye will see him. Revelation 1 verse 7. This was the prophecy no one talks about. But now you know. Stay awake. Stay faithful. The King is coming. Like, comment, and subscribe for more biblical histories. And share this message with someone who needs to hear it today.